Hello world, Bonafide Queen Bree here. If you don't know who I am, I go by the name of Bonafide Queen Bree. On this channel, on my channel, I like to talk about various topics. I started my channel some time ago, and it was more so focused on music. I like to write music. Um, Now I've kind of shift gears and wanted to share messages. Now I like to talk about things that's going on around the world, things that we should be made aware or privy to. I like to talk about things that are inspiring. I like to share inspiring or motivational messages. I like to talk about, as I said, things that's going on in the world, conspiracy theories, things that are related to health, um, things that are related to spirituality, and things that are relative to the Black community. As a Black woman, um, I like to talk about things that will empower Black people, or things that we should be made aware of. Now, for some time now, I wanted to make another video about the alarming statistics and the problem that the world has, but more specifically, the problems that we have in our country with high STD rates. If you do your homework, and if you're actually listening, and whether it's in the news or whether it's in articles or whether it's online, there is a lot of content that's being shared, and a lot of people who are talking about the overwhelming numbers of people who are being diagnosed with sexually transmitted infections and diseases, right? This is a problem because, these things are preventable. Now, some people are born with, they get the trash, or they get the bad DNA sometimes, and they can't help that they get the bad DNA, so they eventually have certain diseases that uh, that grows or progresses in their body, right? When we talk about STDs and STIs, if you will, these things are preventable, and it's very concerning, but it's also very alarming to me, the the things that I'm seeing online. So a lot of what I'm seeing online is content of people who are irresponsibly, um, without shame, and just openly talking about their sexual experiences. But then, while talking about their sexual experiences, they're exposing the filth of how they're engaging and what they're doing that is negatively affecting other people's lives. Now, we live in a culture that a lot of us will say that is overly sexualized. I am not making this upload to tell people how to live their lives, because I understand that people are going to do, 9 times out of 10, especially when we're talking about adults and grown people, they're going to do what they want to do. I feel as though there should be responsibility when it comes to engaging in certain things. So if people are going to be engaging in, sexual behaviors, then there should be some requirements. And the requirements should be being responsible, knowing your status. And then a part of being responsible is sometimes being an adult and actually, stepping aside and stepping far apart from what the crowd is doing, because a lot of times a lot of people are being influenced by what they see on social media, in the media, on TV, on billboards, wherever they go, and then the peer pressure and the influence of being around their peers or people in their community. Now, if people are going to be engaging in different things, which people already are, and because society has over sexualized humanity, if you will, people think that it's cool, and there's not a lot of people talking about, educating on, sexual education. So I came across a video of a young sister who was, talking about how she caught chlamydia and how she wanted to get with this gentleman. The gentleman or the person that she had in mind was not available, so she decided to go sleep with someone else. Now, as far as, engaging in such a way, I don't agree with that at all. I don't think that people should be loosely sleeping with people. A lot of people call that casual sex. I don't think that that's responsible. I don't think that it is wise for anybody to just be randomly sleeping with people. I think that the way that I feel about the topic of sex is that sex is a sacred thing, and it should be treated as such. And there's a reason why um, our culture, it and a lot of the religious or even in spirituality, it is highly encouraged to be in marriage or be in a real sacred union before engaging in sexual activities. So a lot of these people are online, and it really blows me because they are openly sharing their experiences with other people, but it is like the most lowest of the lowest in expressing and sharing with people how they caught STDs, and even more disgustingly, sharing with people how they gave other people STDs. There's just some things that you should not share with people. Where is the line drawn, and when is there a point of pride? Where is the pride where people decide that, hey, I'm not going to, share certain things for the sake of my interest, for the sake of my integrity, for the sake of my dignity? Has our culture fallen so short that we no longer hold people in high regard or high accountability, or look at ourselves and feel ourselves to be so sacred and respectable to where there's certain things that are kept secret and sacred? It is okay to keep secrets and to keep certain things sacred between yourself and your partner or partners, right? So there is a responsible way to behave, because we know that the world is full of a lot of people that are not behaving. They're not behaving in the most righteous or holiest of ways. I'm not religious, but at the same time, I think that the religion and the religious texts at least give us a good basis foundation of something to go off of, right? Of morals, principles, and values. So as an adult, there are certain things such as our sexual nature that is a part of our nature and our humanness. So this message is not to undermine that, but there is a certain type of way that you should move, and there are certain things that should be requirements. There should be non-negotiables, there should be standards, there should be principles, there should be morals and values. Okay, because we're not going to pretend like this is not a part of humanity or our nature. It is a problem when people are not keeping certain things amongst themselves, and they say these things so openly, loosely, and comfortably, expressing online how they have given and shared sexually transmitted diseases with a person or multiple people. I've never had an STD before, and really that's not in none of anybody's business, but I'm just saying because I don't know what it feels like. I can't resonate and relate with a lot of what these people are talking about, or even the ways that they move in, right? There shouldn't be a situation where there is multiple people who have dealt with certain people or engaged with certain people, and they can get online or jump on your comments and say da 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 da. Whether we care or not, it's just really not a good look, because some people will say, well, I don't care. I don't really care what anybody has to say. And then some people lie, and but when people are so open about their experiences, and then they laugh about catching these STDs and then giving it to other people, and then they share it online. There's no sense of dignity. There's no sense of shame in a game. And I think that I have a problem with that. Like, it literally blows me because I can't relate. I can't resonate with these people. And unfortunately, a lot of these people, they look like me. So, I think that a lot of us should be concerned. And that is the reason why I'm making this video. So let's get into the statistics. According to worldpopulationreview.com and a 2025 study of diagnosis of HIV, Georgia came in at the highest rates of HIV at 1,001 cases, and that was confirmed diagnoses in 2025. Okay, so these are diagnoses from 2025. Georgia, 1,001 cases. Florida came in second, 1,923 cases, almost 2,000 cases of confirmed diagnosis of HIV. Texas, 1,827 cases of confirmed diagnosis of HIV. California came in at 1,503 cases of HIV in 2025. And then that totaled 14,791 cases of confirmed diagnosis of HIV in 2025. So HIV around the world, according to the World Health Organization, there are about 37.9 million people in the world living with HIV, and these are statistics from 2018. Based on the most recent information from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, about 1.14 million Americans had HIV at the end of 2016. Now, let me find something that is a little bit more recent. So California has the highest number of people living with HIV of 128,153, a rate of 389.7 people with HIV per 100,000 people. That's a lot of people. Per 100,000 residents is what it reads. Of those living with HIV in California, the largest groups is white with 48,155 people, and the second largest is Hispanic or Latino with 48,029 people. New York has the second highest number of people living with HIV, then follows Florida with HIV, then Texas is coming in fourth with the fourth highest number of people living with HIV. Georgia is coming in fifth with the fifth highest rate of people living with HIV. So what really has me mind boggled is how these diseases are preventable. I made a couple videos about maybe 9 months to a year ago, and I was talking about some of the statistics, but I was more so talking about prevention. Not using needles, obviously using condoms. They have condoms for females, they have condoms for males, and being responsible and really being serious about your health, because there was a time when people were dying at alarming rates and faster rates back in the day when HIV came on the scene, and because they didn't have retrovirus medicines. And now they have those retrovirus medicines. If I'm not mistaken, they have retrovirus medicines, I guess pre-exposure, if you will, and then they have post-exposure or possible exposure medicines for people that are living risky lifestyles. And then also, the sexual education and the knowledge, because some people think, oh, well, if I don't have intercourse, then I should be fine. No, if you're having intercourse, and even if you're engaging in oral sex, it doesn't matter. When you are engaging with someone and you are exchanging fluids, let's talk about it on a broad scale, you run the risk of catching any type of STD. Millions of people have herpes in the United States, which is very scary. And herpes, you can get herpes by way of saliva, sharing drinks with people, mouth to mouth contact, if you will. There are alarming rates of HPV, the human papilloma virus, and chlamydia. Now, there was a time ago, back when HIV first surfaced on the scenes, when people were testing positive for things such as syphilis and chlamydia, and even till this present day, when you test positive for syphilis or chlamydia, they say that you are at high risk of testing positive for HIV. This is what the doctors say, and this is what the statistics say. So there's a lot of people who are testing positive for syphilis, and there's a lot of people who are testing positive for gonorrhea and chlamydia and herpes. And then people, they loosely and mindlessly engage in these acts, and they think that it's all good, and they think it's a party. And then some people say, well, because they have, maybe it's because they have retrovirus medicines and people aren't dying at alarming rates or as fast as they used to. But the thing about HIV is it's not curable. And even if someone is going undetected after taking so much retrovirus medicine, congratulations to you. And I apologize to anyone if I'm being insensitive, but I feel a way, even though I don't have any disease, I don't have these issues. I feel as though it's very important that we bring more awareness to it, and sexual education, whatever that you are engaging in, whatever it is that people like, whatever is your pleasure, your guilty pleasure, or whatever. How grown are you, or how much of an adult are you if you're not educated and if you're not being responsible? And that is what this video is about. It is very bothersome, especially now. I'm gonna be totally honest. It's even more bothersome to me because a lot of these cases are of people that look like us, like me, if you will. So people getting online and talking about how they caught STDs and how they had to go, get a shot, or they had to go get medicine, and then, they had to go tell someone and go tell these other partners. And, it's really, really, really concerning. So even with the retrovirus medicine, eventually you'll have to get older, and the older that you get, your immune system becomes a little bit more weaker. And then people have the audacity to say, a lot of people will say, when you try to tell them about the health and the health of themselves, and try to talk about how they should be health conscious, a lot of people will say, oh, I don't care, because we're gonna die from something. And I just want to piggyback and reiterate off of what one of my favorite influencers said. He said, yeah, we're all gonna die from something. He said, I'm gonna die from old age. And I really rock with that, and I feel the same way. Yes, we're all gonna die from something, and I want to die from old age. So my priority is self-preservation, which is the first law of nature. Now, for people to play with their health, and especially when it comes to sexually transmitted diseases and sexually transmitted infections, is a very irresponsible way of being, and a very irresponsible way of thinking when we're talking about diseases that are absolutely preventable. And for people not to care, and for people to be so, I'm going to use the word demonic, because a lot of people, they know that they have it, and they'll share it with other people. So rock with me, right? If you're one of them people who are health conscious, but you're also very conscious about your body, and you're someone like me who actually loves their body, right? you know um Power to the people who, more power to you, those people who actually are health conscious and care about their bodies. And if you are, engaging in sexual activities, or you have a partner, or you're married, that you are not only thinking about yourself, but you're thinking about your partner too, because not only are you being responsible, but you're showing love, genuine love and respect, right? People are bragging about how many partners that they have, and then they're not talking about the diseases that they have. And then some people are talking about the diseases that they do have, but they're also bragging about it. So society has become so, it what do the youngsters say? They say it's diabolical, the way that people move and the way that they operate, and they don't even care. They don't mind. And then also, they don't mind that the children are watching as well. Now, like I've said plenty of times before, I'll say it again. I understand that grown folks are going to do what grown folks want to do, but it's our responsibility to protect the children. And if you are going to be engaging in such activities, it is your responsibility to, it should be your responsibility to take care of not only yourself, but the people that you are engaging in. That would be the humane, righteous thing to do, right? That would be the clean thing to do, right? But people are so unclean that it is just, it's absolutely ridiculous. California having the highest rates of HIV. According to the CDC, HPV, aka the human papillomavirus, is the most common STD in this country, totaling 79 million people. Now, I probably, at the beginning of this video, I probably should have given a trigger warning, because I promise you, I'm not trying to offend anybody. I really wanted to make this video for educational purposes. When it comes to, viruses like the human papilloma virus, or HPV, it usually has symptoms of like genital warts and like herpes, and warts on possibly like the your throat or different places on your body. And then they recommend that people get the young children vaccinated as young as, I think, a preteen for the HPV virus, because they say that you can get it through saliva or kissing. So it's getting really, really, really scary. It's like everybody just keep their germs to themselves. Women, keep your legs closed. Men, keep your mans in your pants. Like, unless you're dealing with someone, that it's a sacred union, and someone who you can really, 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 really trust, right? Because if people are going to be promoting, all of this sexual proclivities, if you will, where is the sexual education? And I just want to make myself clear that I'm not saying that people should be promoting sexual proclivities at all. What I'm saying is that people are doing things, and they are not educating people or becoming aware. They're not educating themselves. Like I said in a previous upload, people are engaging in things as if they're grown, and, oh, I'm grown and I'm an adult. Is that right? Because if you are grown and if you are an adult, then you will be behaving and you will be moving in a way like an adult, where you are being responsible. So back to some of the statistics. The CDC estimates 20 million new STD infections for 2026. Now, if that's not scary to people, then I don't know. Maybe I'm living under a rock. Maybe I'm living too high on a mountain. Maybe I need to come back down to earth. Maybe there's something wrong with me. Okay. Estimates 20 million new STD infections. STDs are very preventable. Abstinence, celibacy, You don't know the definition of abstinence, abstaining from sexual behaviors, celibacy, totally abstaining from all sexual energy, or should I say sexual behaviors, sexual engagement, if you will. The District of Columbia has the highest rates of chlamydia, with totaling 1,228 cases of chlamydia. Should I read that again? I think I should. I think I should read that one more time, because maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only one. The District of Columbia, aka DC, has the highest rates of chlamydia, totaling 1,228 cases of chlamydia. That's sad. I was going to say that that's scary. I mean, I guess that it could be considered scary depending on your type of lifestyle. But when you're very responsible and you're very choosy about how you move, and you value your body, and you value your energy, and you value your sacredness, you're not too much worried about stuff like this, because you know that the probability of something like this happening, or you acquiring such a disease, is very slim to none, because you're not engaging, right? And obviously that's like scarce, and that is a problem for our culture, for people to be abstaining from sexual activity or being celibate. We can share all of this creative ways, and share our sexual energy in so many different ways, in very inappropriate and irresponsible ways, instead of educating one another and say, hey, why don't you make sure that you take care of yourself, and make sure that you are good mentally, because obviously you have to have a mental illness to sleep with someone who tells you that they have an STD. These are some of the things that people are sharing online. It's absolutely insanity. People are sharing accounts and stories of people who, okay, so I'll give you some of the details. There was a woman who shared a video online, and I was going to share some of these video clips, but to be quite honest, I just didn't have the time right now, and I was just ready to get it over with. I really just wanted to dig into this topic. But there was a woman who said that she called whoever her partner was. I don't know if it was, I doubt it was her man, but it was her partner, this guy. She called him over, and she told him that she had gonorrhea. He said that he thought that she said diarrhea. And the crazy part about it is, it just goes to show you the irresponsibility and the low nature of some people. The no control that they have. They have no control over their urges or their desires, right? She told him that she had gonorrhea. He said, I thought she said that she had diarrhea. He ends up sleeping with her, and he says that he went to urinate and it burned. He said that he was urinating fire. He said, I thought that she said diarrhea. Now, please stop me if I'm wrong, but the average person, right? If someone tells you that they have diarrhea, and you go approaching with the mindset of being intimate, with the intentions to be intimate with them. Okay, you said you have diarrhea, right? No, someone says, oh, I have a cold. There's like no pause button. There is no inclination that says, okay, maybe I should, what do you need? Do you need something for that? Do you need, something to calm your belly? You have a common cold. Do you need, some tea? Do you need some echinacea? Do you need, what is it? Do you need some herbs? What is it that I can do to help you to, heal what it is that you have going on at the moment? Right? This is what people in their right mind would say, right? Okay, you need some time to heal. You got some stuff going on with your digestive system or your bowels. you have a common cold or whatever, okay, you need time to heal because your body is trying to purge something. So how can I help you heal? No, the guy says that he proceeded to go over to her house and to engage in these acts, and she ended up giving him gonorrhea. But no, it's supposed to be okay because I thought she said she had diarrhea. So the mindlessness of people and what they're sharing online is unbelievable. Okay? I think that, people need to be more responsible. I think that people need to stop trying to keep up with what everything that they're seeing online, on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, in these different places, and the peer pressure or what the world says is like, oh, this is cool. These things is going to shorten your lifespan. Herpes, you okay, so there are people in the community. There are herbalists, and there are people who are they are, holistic doctors, and people who practice holistic ways of healing. And they have proven countless times that they know how to cure these things, such as HIV. We've heard of people who have been healed from HIV from going and getting advice from holistic doctors. We've heard of people who have went to these holistic doctors and they have been cured of their herpes simplex virus, or whichever herpes virus that it is, because herpes has so many different strands. Now, as far as the human papilloma virus, I haven't heard of anything about that. As far as chlamydia and syphilis, I believe that some people have said some people have been healed from that. I know that you can go to a regular MD and they'll give you a shot or medication for it. But why would you want to risk your health to have to go to the doctor to ask for meds? And these things, they actually changes your DNA. Anytime your white blood cell count have to go up because it's trying to fight off invaders. It's doing something within your body, and it also weakens the immune system. There's 100 reasons why we shouldn't be thinking of, oh, if I get this, then I'll just figure out how to eradicate the disease. No, we should be thinking of preventative measures. It should always be about preventative measures. How can I prevent myself from catching these diseases? Because we have all of these other things to think about as well. We have cancer to think about. We have heart disease to think about. We have diabetes and high cholesterol and high blood pressure. And along with all of these different diseases that are high, even in our communities, these other diseases that are related to metabolic diseases. They're all preventable as well, for the most part. I know that they say, sometimes you get the genetic trash of family, and sometimes you can't help certain things. But it is very, very high in our community with the rates of those diseases or ailments that I previously listed: heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, autoimmune diseases. What did I miss? I said diabetes. They're all metabolic diseases. So it comes from the way that we live our lifestyles and in the way that we eat. But also, a lot of things that people aren't talking about as it relates to disease and the prevention of disease is the big stress factor, and how much stress plays a big factor in the progression, in the presence and then the progression of disease, right? So we already have that to worry about in our communities. Then we have to worry about, the health and well-being of our partners. Honesty seems as though being honest and being straightforward is becoming a thing of the past. A lot of these diseases are being transmitted because people are not being honest about what it is that they want, what they like, and the people that they are dealing with. And then there is a culture of people who think that the more people that you sleep with, then the higher value that you are. And it's absolutely wrong. It is a fallacy. How do we know? Because look at what we're looking at. There is a high rate of people in the United States who are carrying one form of a sexually transmitted disease or infection at any given rate, at any given time. That should be a problem for everybody. That should be concerning for everybody. And if it's not concerning, then then that means that there is really, really something wrong in our culture. Now, we have the adults to think about, but then we also have the children to think about as well, because whether we want to admit it or not, they also have a nature. And of course, that comes with education and pumping a little bit of fear for preventative purposes, for influencing and encouraging abstinence and celibacy. So that's always that's always what we would encourage. But the fact of the matter is even these youngsters, they have nature too. And they're exposed to some things that they may not be exposed to in their households, in the school. Okay, well, they don't go to school. In the neighborhood, online, it's everywhere. So, preventative measures. Preventative care is health care. Preventative care is self-care. We have a problem with the culture of people who are overly sexual, and they're irresponsible and unaccountable in the process. That should be a problem for everybody, especially because a lot of it is in our communities. So as far as HIV, as I said, they have retrovirus medicines, but HIV is not something that is, commonly or on the mainstream curable. So the transmission of the possible ways of transmission for HIV, they have said that is through blood and semen, and it's usually with contacts upon, you can get it can be transmitted upon sexual contact with needles, and by way of blood and semen. Some of the other statistics that they have reported, or some of the statistics that I have come across is, and this may be a trigger warning, but I'm just stating what I have learned in my research. They have stated that more cases of HIV is diagnosed, or you get confirmed diagnosis with anal or rectal sexual contact. So there are higher rates of HIV amongst people who engage in sexual activities that are that has to do with rectal or anal contact. And then it was said that there were less cases that were reported amongst women or lesbians. But the fact of the matter is that people are not being honest. And there are men and women who are coming on confirmed diagnosis of HIV. So what does that say? It says that there is a large number of people who are living risky lifestyles, and responsibility and accountability is not what's being talked about. Again, that should be a problem for everybody. That should be a concern for everybody. especially because there are children that are watching, and not only do the children think that a lot of the things that they see on social media in the mainstream is cool, some of the adults do too, because they're looking up to certain people and certain lifestyles, but these certain people are not being held accountable, and they're also not telling the truth about what the repercussions are of living a promiscuous lifestyle. As of early 2026, roughly 40.8 million people are living with HIV globally, with approximately 1.3 million new infections and 630,000 deaths annually. 630,000 deaths annually. Again, the thing is because STDs, sexually transmitted diseases, and sexually transmitted infections are preventable. If people are so, you know, happy free, and they want to live their life and have fun, why not be responsible about what it is that you do, is what I'm saying. Why not be responsible about it? Why not be accountable for yourself, but be accountable for the people that you are engaging with? That's like if you guys go on a trip together and you guys fly out of the country. We want to be accountable for the people that we leave with. We go together, we come back together, right? It's the same thing. I mean, it should be the same thing. If people are partying and people are, getting into drunkenness, and they can't drive, then people will make sure that you're good and that you're not driving, right? The same way that you're accountable for somebody who is in a drunken state, and you will take care of that person in a drunken state, right? So we take care of people in different ways. The same should apply when it comes to people's sexual activities. And then we talk about, sexually transmitted diseases and sexually transmitted infections. But then what about, another thing that blows me is, what about the sexually transmitted demons that people get from sleeping with different people? So people sleep with certain people, and then they end up taking their energy. The woman will take the man's energy, but then he'll also take her energy, because it's the highest level of energetic exchange. Sexual energy is the highest level of energetic exchange. And then you have to, a person wonders why they start taking on the ways of their partner, or if a woman has multiple partners, or if the man has multiple partners, and then they don't know whether they're going or they're coming, or they feel as though, they're not grounded, or they have all these different issues, and, it just can't, nothing seems to be, nothing really seems to be going well. They're not content. They're not happy. They don't feel grounded in their spirit when there's a lot of chaos that ensues. These are things that we should keep in mind. And, it's worse for a woman, because I believe that we're more open and more sensitive. So, that's something to consider when we're talking about what should be considered sacred sex, right? Then also, there's the topic of, this may be a trigger warning as well. The topic of people who are engaging with people in engaging with people who actually were inoculated, if you will, people who received the jab, if you will, and the things that we know about the technology that is in those particular shots, if you will. So there is just a lot to consider when we're talking about engaging with people in what should be considered sacred activities, sacred sexual behavior. There's a lot to consider. the health and well-being of the people that you are engaging with, or that people are engaging with, should be your main priority. And then, as I said in a previous upload, I personally believe that people are under the influence, and that plays a big factor in how they express themselves and how they engage sexually in sexual behaviors. What do I mean by that? There's a lot of different things that people engage in that, if you do the research on the substances that people use, it is known to raise their level of empathy, their feelings of euphoria or ecstasy. So when people get to a certain level of intoxication, or a certain level of, I guess that would be a good term to use, because it's not only alcohol that you can become intoxicated from, but when you get to a certain level to where your good reasoning part of your mind or your brain is suppressed, then people tend to engage in activities that they normally wouldn't if they were sober. So there's a lot of things to consider when we're talking about all of the things that are factors uh in irresponsible sexual behavior. Obviously, it's going to be the things that people are watching online. It's going to be the substances that they are using, and the things that they are engaging in, the people that they are around as well. So I feel as though people should be more responsible, even when it comes to choosing to engage in certain substances. Really, not only abstaining from those particular behaviors, but also abstaining from drinking or engaging and using certain substances that's going to inhibit, or it's going to block the good reasoning part of your brain, where people are engaging heavily in things that they normally wouldn't engage in if they were in a sober mind. And lastly, I'm going to say, before I close this, before I get off of here and close this video, there is a reason why the sacred text teaches us to be of a sober mind. And a lot of times people are engaging in these things when they're in drunken states, or when they are under the influence of different drugs or alcohol. We're all grown, right? So let's talk about it. I mean, let's be grown and let's be responsible and be real about it. When people practice being more of a sober mind, then your good reasoning parts of your mind are online, and then you can make more good, wise, and sound decisions. So if we're going to be doing a do, let's make sure that we are being very responsible, being very conscious and responsible, not only of ourselves, but the people who we say we so-called love, or the people who we are engaging with, and the people who we are, or people that people are engaging with in these what should be considered sacred behaviors.